Claritas. This is the second problem on 3.7 task worksheet. We are going to solve it using Claritas strategy factoring. Okay? We're going to do it sage and scribe. I want the person closest to the front of the room to tell the other person how to sage and scribe it. Okay? Figure out the factors. Figure out two numbers. Hey, look. You've got a number right here that you got to find the factors for, and a number right here you got to find the factors together. And when you list all the factors of both of them, find out which pair goes with which one so they add up to 5 in the middle. You might have to struggle with this one for a second, but I want you to try it. Okay? Go. Hey, you guys, I'm going to show you how to do one similar to it. Watch this one. 12x squared plus 13x minus 35 equals 0. Now, if I'm going to do this problem, I need to find the numbers I can times together and get 12. Well, I know 1 times 12. You know, the nice thing about yours is pretty easy. There's only one set of numbers you times together and get 2. That's 1 and 2, right? 2 times 6 works, and 3 times 4 works. I'm also going to list all the numbers I can times together and get negative 35. Well, I got 1 and negative 35. I've got negative 1 and positive 35. And then the only other two numbers that go into it is 5 and 7. So negative 5 and 7, 5 and negative 7, right? Those are my only choices. Now, what I have to do is I need to find the combination of numbers when I times a pair over here by a pair over here and add them together that I get 13. Okay? So somehow I've got to get that 13. Well, I'm looking at, I could try several of these and just find out which ones work. I'm going to try 4 times 7, negative 7. What's 4 times negative 7? Negative 28. And I can try 3 times 5, which is 15. If I add them together, what do I get? I get negative 13. I want a positive 13. I'm on the right track. What do I need to change right here? Well, I need to have a positive 28 and a negative 15, and then I would have the right number. How do I do that? I need to switch. Instead of going to 5 and negative 7, I need to go to negative 5 and 7, right? So I'm going to switch those right there. I'm going to go to, and you know what? I knew right off the bat that it wasn't going to be negative 1 and 35, because if you times these together, the difference of them is too big. It's not even close to 13. That's why I knew it wasn't them. That's why I tried one of these down here. So I'm going to try 4 times 7 and 3 times negative 5. Now, the other thing I could have done is tried 4 times negative 5 and 3 times 7, but 4 times negative 5 is negative 20 and 3 times 7 is 21. Those two are only a difference of 1. I want a difference of 13, right? That's why I didn't try those either. Okay, 4 times 7 is 28. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. And I add those up and I get a positive 13. So that's my two pairs. This one and this one are my two pairs. So I've got to use a little trial and error. Do you know this problem's all about multiplication and addition? That's all it is. You can multiply and divide. You can do these. Okay, so I set up my two factors. Equals 0. That's how you set it up. And then I take this 3 and this 4. One of them is going to be 3x, the first of that one. One's going to be 4x. And it doesn't matter which order you do it in. One of them is going to be 3x. One of them is going to be 4x. Okay, you got that? Are we all looking? Because some of you guys are like daydreaming right now. Okay, 3x and 4x. Okay, now, if I multiply the 3 by a negative 5, because that's what I did right here, I can't put the negative 5 in the same thing as 3, can I? Because if I FOIL it, if I multiply these two together, binomials together, and negative 5 is in the same one, I'll never times it by that. I times this 3x by the 2 in here, right? So I know that negative 5 is not going to go in the same one as the 3, because, see, by my lines, I showed that I have to times the 3 and the negative 5 together. So I know negative 5 has to go over here, which leaves me with the 7 to go there. There's my two factors. Now, after I get my two factors, this part's easy. I know that something times something is equal to 0. To figure out what those are, I set each factor equals to 0. Because I want to know because I know if one of those numbers is 0. If this is 0, 0 times something is 0. That's the only way you're going to get 0. So I know that I have to set them equal to 0 to solve them to see what makes them 0. So in this equation, I minus 7 from both sides. And then I divide by 3, and I get x equals negative 7/3. So that would be one of my answers. And over here, I add 5 to both sides, and I divide by 4, and there's another one of my answers. So that's how you solve a problem like this. So I want you to go back to the one we're working on. You're going to do the same thing as I did right here. You're going to list the factors of the number in front of x squared. List the factors of the constant. And you're going to try multiplying them together and then adding. And after you multiply one number by one of these numbers, like we times the 4 by the 7 and the 3 by the negative 5, you add those numbers together and see if you get that middle number. Okay? So go back to this one. Let's see if you can get it now. Okay? You got a little bit better idea what you're doing? And 3 times 4 and negative 3 times 4. Okay? I only have one choice over here, so that makes it really easy. I could try 2 and 1 and 1 and 12, but they only have a difference of 10. They have a difference of 10. Or 2 and 12 and 1 and 1, that has a difference of 23. That's not going to work. So these two are out. I know those two are out. Okay? I can go 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 times 6 is 6. Well, the difference between 6 and 4 is 2. And my middle term is 5. Or I can go 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 6 is 12, and 1 times 2 is 2, and the difference between those is 10. So I know these two are out. So it's got to be one of these two. I happen to know that it's going to be 2 times 4, because that's 8, and 1 times negative 3, because that's negative 3, and that adds up to 5, which is my middle term, 5, right? So that's my pair it's going to work. So I write my two binomials. What goes in the first of each binomial, you guys? The 1 and the 2, but it's going to be 1x and 2x. But I don't write 1x, I just write x. And 2x. Okay? 1x and 2x. Now look, what is the 2 being times by, you guys? Follow it down. 4. Can 4 go in the same binomial as 2? No. So where does it go? It goes right here, and it's plus 4. What goes in the other one? That negative 3. That's the only thing left. Equals 0. Then I set each factor equal to 0. And I solve those. I get x equals negative 4. And I add 3 to both sides of this one. I divide by 2, and I get 3 halves, right? And those are my two answers. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, you guys. Remember that was one of our answers? Okay, so that's how you do that. All right, you guys, I just want to show you something on Tia's strategy. I don't want to take the time to learn how to do it. We learned that a little while ago, solving by completing the square. And I don't want to take forever on that, so I want to go right here to Tia's strategy. I'm just going to show you this one, because I want to show you that if you ever get an equation in this form, it's really easy to solve. We're going to get it in, we're going to do this with it. I want everybody to take your chair and turn it this way towards me and just watch. Don't write anything down right now. Just watch this. Turn your chairs. Turn the chair so you're not tempted to talk to anybody here. Okay. We are going to complete the square. Oh, are you all right? Okay. Yeah, the chair just broke. It just broke.
Wow, I'm fat.
There, let me. We're going to complete the square on this. Okay. Hey guys, remember that we factor out the first two. We factor out the number in front of the x squared. And we add the 12 to the other side. Do you remember doing this? We take half this number and square it. Remember that? 5 halves times 1 half is 5/4. And then I square that number to get 25/16. Remember that?
this? Which one?
This is Tia's strategy. Don't write it down. Just watch. I'm not going to have you do this one. Okay? Just want you to watch. Okay? And so we get that 25/16. But remember, if we this 25/16 we just created on this side, so we got to do it to the other side too, right? Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. But it's really a 2 times 25/16. So 2 times 25/16, those cancel out, and you get 25/8. So we added 25/8 to one side. We got to add it to the other side, right? Okay? Now, what that does is that created a perfect square trinomial right here, you guys. So I have the 2 that's out in front. This factors would be x plus 5/4 times x plus 5/4. And then on the other side, I have 12 plus 25/8. Well, 8 will go into 25 3 times with 1 left over. So 12 plus 3 1/8 is 15 1/8. We'll just write it down like that right now, okay? You guys remember the short way of writing x plus 5/4? What's the short way of writing x plus 5/4? Times x plus 5/4 squared, right? I divide both sides by 2, or I times it by 1/2. Okay, do you remember timesing this by 1/2? So I got to get rid of this too. Okay, wait, this is called completing the square. We've completed the square. I want you guys to know that anytime you see an equation in this form, it's easy to solve, because you're going to see some in this form later on. That's the only reason it's important to know this. That's why I didn't have you do that part right there. But what you're going to do right here is we're going to divide both sides by 2, or that's the same thing as timesing both sides by 1/2. Now, by the way, what's 15 times 8 plus 1? Let's change this to a mixed number. 15 times 8. Someone do that in your calculator. 15 times 8. 4 times 15 is 6. So it's 120, right? Because I didn't think about it first. That's what sometimes you guys do too. Times 1/2. What happens when I times 121/8 by 1/2? 121/16, right? So I get x plus 5/4 squared equals 121/16. Now this is the form you're going to see it in. Okay? What I can do now is anytime you see an equation in this form, what can I do to both sides to get x by itself? This is what I want you to see. You square root both sides, right? That makes x plus 5/4 because the square root and the square undo each other. What's the square root of 121, everybody? 11. Oh, by the way, this is plus or minus. Plus or minus 11. What's the square root of 16, everybody? 4. So 11/4. Now all I have to do to get x by itself is do what? Minus 5/4. So I'm going to get x equals negative 5/4 plus or minus 11/4. And here's my two answers. What's negative 5 plus 11, everybody? So I get 6/4, which reduces to 3/2. Wasn't that one of my answers? What's negative 5 minus 11? Negative 16. What's negative 16 divided by 4? Wasn't negative 4 one of my other answers? Okay, so that's the other two. Now that's called solving by completing the square. Is that a good method? It is not a good method. It takes forever. And it's difficult, and you have all these fancy numbers in there, you know, all these fractions and everything. It's not a good method. You know the quadratic formula? I don't know if you remember when I showed you the quadratic formula. I showed you by completing the square on it and deriving it this way, and we came up with the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula is a better method. So what I want you guys to do right now is that last method. Tahani's strategy is to solve this by the quadratic formula. I want everybody to do that right now. I want to do it as a sage and scribe. No, everybody, sages are going to be the people closest front of the room.
Yeah, we were sages like 3 times.
Oh, okay. Person further away is going to be the sage.
That's
Person closest to the room, pick up your pencil. Katsuhiko, you're going to tell her what to write, okay? So do this one right here. Okay, go. Okay, this is your homework. I want you to write these two problems down. I want you to solve them using the quadratic formula. I expect them to be done when you walk in the door. That's your only homework. When you walk in that door, I expect it to be done. If it's not done, I'm not letting you turn it in late. I'm not going to let you finish it in class. You have to turn it in before you walk, as you walk in the door. I expect you to have it done. If you need help, go to Khan Academy and look up a video. You can just Google how to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. If you Googled that, you would come up with some videos to show you how to do it. Okay? So look for that if you're still not understanding this, and go try it. Make sure you have this quadratic formula written down before you go if you don't have it memorized yet. Make sure you have it somewhere in your notes. I would write yourself a note that you have homework, 2 problems in Mr. Cahoon's class. Get them done, okay? Have a